Yesterday we were talking about the first of the 6 qualities of the Dhamma, namely Svagata, were proclaimed or preached is the Dhamma. And the texts are given many methods in order to arouse the dormant faith, sada. As for because we are concerned with the practice of Satipatthana, this much would be sufficient to awaken our sada. As for the remaining qualities of the sada, they will be explained as we go on in the course of our retreat, both from a theoretical and practical aspects. As for today, just with the Svagata quality, yogi's faith would be awakened. And if initially their faith is already awakened, then they can develop this faith and confidence. So today we shall discuss the quality of saddha, both from the aspects of Lakkhana Rasa, Satipatthana, Pratana. Now we have these qualities in terms of characteristics, namely Sadhana, Saddha, Lakkhana. As for the function, Pasara, Lakkhana, clarifying, the function of clarifying, and manifestation, Pachipatthana, as Akavisya, Pachipatthana, non-fogging as manifestation, and its proximate cause is Saddhya Vodru, object of faith. So, as regards the genuine Saddhya Vodru, we examined it to find out whether it is genuine or not, so that we are clear of doubts. Knowing the quality of this Saddhya Vodru, object of faith, we come to conclusion that it is correct. That's it. Trusting it, believing it, accepting it, and coming to a resolution. Such is Saradhimokha, resoluteness of faith. So, understanding the quality of Saddhya Vodru as correct, genuine, one sada is awakened with the faith supported by reason and personal knowledge, coming to acceptance. And such is the natural characteristic, one of the qualities of saddha, faith and confidence. Knowing the quality of Dhamma as Saddhya Vodru, object of faith, in a small way or to some extent, or to a large extent, by studying, discussing, reading authentic literatures, one comes to acceptance with own personal reason or personal knowledge, accepting it, trusting it, coming to a resolution. Thus, one comes to accept it, such as saddha. The proximate cause is Saddhya Vodru, object of faith, in this case, the Dhamma, or the quality of the Dhamma, knowing the quality of the Dhamma. Its function is given as Pasarana, Rasa, Saddha. The faith and confidence has the function of clarifying its associated mental states. Just as the ruby, piece of ruby of the universal monarch is thrown into water or some clarifying agent, like alum or something like that, into cloudy water, dirty water, or in a dirty well. You've done that at one time or another. The water becomes clear, because all the sediments will settle down In this way, by putting in this clarifying agent, the water becomes clear. So too, this Saddha has the function of clarifying the mind. So when this Saddha enters one's stream of consciousness, the defilements or hindrances of progress, we call nivaranas or kilesas, will settle down or will be overcome. In this case, it will be overcome. In the case of sediment, they settle down. So that your stream of consciousness or your mind will become clear. So Saddha has that quality, has a function. So this is clarifying. And as regards the first quality, namely Sabhava Lakkhana, natural characteristic, as we have discussed, our Saddha is given as trusting. So when we combine these together, that means these two qualities together, namely natural characteristic and its function, it becomes trusting and clear. So in our local language, we call yongji, that means trusting and clarifying. It has two qualities, trusting and clarifying, which becomes the rendering of Saddha in our local language. Such is Saddha's two qualities, namely natural characteristic, Sabhava Lakkhana, and function, rasa. So based on this, we come to have faith in the Saddhya Vutu, object of faith. When we talk about this ruby of the universal monarch, it was the language used in those days, that was more than 2,500 years ago. It was mentioned in the literatures. In those days, people believed in such universal monarch. Nowadays, there won't be such person, though we may consider the United Nations as something like similar to universal monarch, like a single monarch ruling in those days. So, in this literature was given, when this ruby, universal monarch's ruby was dropped into this cloudy water, then the water becomes clear. Nowadays we can give such example as putting a lamp or something like that, a clarifying agent, into the cloudy water, in order that the sediments will settle down, clarifying the water. Then it will be in keeping with our times. Just as when you put alarm, something like that, into this cloudy water, since alarm or this clarifying agent has the ability, has the property of clarifying the water, letting the sediment settle down. So also, once we understand the quality of Saddhya Vutu, object of faith, that this is correct, then we come to a conclusion saying that it is correct. This is it. So we become clear of doubt. Such is Saddha, faith and confidence, which has the ability of clarifying its associated mental states. So that these nivarana kilesas, hindrances of progress and defilements, negative mental states, which are like the sediments, will be overcome, will settle down, in order making the mind clear. So this is acceptable. Because in alam, or this clarifying agent, are chemicals or materials which have the property of clarifying the water. So this will be quite understood by the yogis who are practicing. If only we understand that lifeless material, inanimate material like alam has the ability of clarifying the turbid, cloudy water. We can just imagine how, to what extent the mind, which is animate matter, can clarify the mind to be free of hindrances to progress. Now the yogis are practicing meditation, guarding the mind with vigilant mindfulness of every arising, presently, energetically with precision. As much as their noting power is strong, they are bound to activate their mindfulness correctly, precisely on the object of meditation, so that the mind will fall calm and collected on the object of meditation. The mind will not go elsewhere. There will be no distraction, no scattering of the mind from the object. Thus, at that moment, you just imagine, you'll be free of these hindrances of progress, namely hindrance of sense desire or sense desire hindrance, hindrance of ill will, there will be no ill will hindrance, hindrance of sloth and torpor, there will be no laziness or sloth and torpor. And because the mind is falling calm and collected on the object of meditation, there will be no scattering of the mind. The mind will not be removed from the object of meditation. There will be no gap in between. And because you undertake the practice with initial faith and confidence in the practice, there will be no hindrance or skeptical doubt. You have full faith in the practice. In this way, all these hindrances to progress will settle down, just like the sediment settling down from the cloudy water. It is quite obvious that your mind will become clarified with this faith. So this would be understood in the domain of the practice. If you undertake the practice, you are bound to experience it with your own personal knowledge. So if only you are able to undertake this practice of Satipatthana Bhavana respectfully, carefully, you will come to understand that this Saddha is many times more powerful than the alarm in clarifying your mind. The former part or first part of the noble part of a constituents, a full part, namely the practice of virtue or morality, sila, such as practicing samavaca, right speech, samakamanta, right action, samāājiva, right livelihood. By observing this morality or virtue, you will not commit any gross, unwholesome deeds by body and speech. We call them videkama kilesas, defilements which can be transgressed by body and speech, or transgressive defilements. You will not commit them. And even if you don't come across these unwholesome deeds, you have taken the vows of precepts that you will abstain from such unwholesome deeds. Such is known as Chirana Sila, the volitional virtue. This also is involved in it. So we have two aspects. One is abstaining from unwholesome deeds when you come into contact or when you are confronted with it, or before you come into contact with it, or before you are confronted with it, you have taken the vows, so you already have the volitional action, intentions. So such as Chirana Sila. So there are two things. One is abstaining, when you really come into contact, come into face to face with immoral deeds, and even if you don't come into contact, you have this vows of precepts, Chirana Sila. Chirana Sila, volitional virtue, so that there will be no physical and verbal impurities. So you will be free of gross transgressive defilements. So these gross forms of transgressive defilements are said to have settled down, so to speak, comparing to the sediments of the water. So this is the basic quality of overcoming the gross forms of defilements or gross sediments. When you come to think about it, how this, by taking the vows of precepts, observing the virtue or morality, how you can purify your mind, at least you'll be free of the near internal enemies or gross form of defilements, namely greed, hatred and delusion. They are said to be overcome or they are subdued. So once these enemies are subdued, you can be sure of overcoming or being free from self-blame, as we discussed yesterday. Atta nuvara daya. So this is how we subdue or overcome the internal enemies. If we think about it, we'll become very satisfied with our practice. That clarifies the mind. In this way, such will be the function of sattva, faith and confidence. Such is the experience that you will come across in the course of the practice. This is only basic. By walking the path of virtue, sila path, you will experience or you come to understand or you will find that your physical, verbal behaviors are purified, free of impurities, they are cultivated, become general and amiable. So, by just walking the sila path, you will find that this practice is correct. In that it has the ability of overcoming or subduing these internal enemies so that it becomes free of these dangers, such as danger of self-blame and so on. Such is the immediate benefit of walking the sila path. Such is the answer that you realize from practice of sila. Because of this basic practice of sila, virtue, your mind becomes trusting and clear, so that it becomes clear, trusting, which is the meaning of faith. So by walking the sila path, you are getting wholesome benefits. So you come to acceptance. There also, again, there is the clarity. There is the element of clarity and trusting. Such is sattva. So, by just practicing this self-control in terms of sila, virtue, you are winning victory over these internal enemies, which are also gross transgressive defilements, namely greed, hatred and delusion. Such is self-victory. You are winning over yourself. Thus, you are making your own little world peaceful. And by making your world peaceful, you are also making the external other world, the society, peaceful, by extending your sphere so that the whole world will become peaceful. Because of the absence of transgressive defilements, because of the absence of transgressions, you become pacified, become peaceful, and you can go on extending the sphere so that the whole world becomes peaceful. Such is the advantages of basic sila. When it comes to the domain of practice of mindfulness, there are many, each of the mental states has its qualities, affective qualities, one by one. For instance, you apply energy, you exert your energy in order to drive your noting mind towards the rising object, to reach or to note your rising object. Every time the noting mind reaches the target, the object to be noted, you will find that this energy, called virya, will not accept the negative mental states, defilements. In this way, it is blocking the path to the current of defilements. In other words, blocking the path to the current of sediments, kilesa sediments. So that becomes clear. Such is the quality of energy, virya. So as you are able to strengthen your mindfulness, not to miss every arising object, your mindfulness becomes very strong, activated, so that your mindfulness has the power of protecting your mind from kilesas, from defilements, so that the defilements or negative mental states will not enter your stream of consciousness. In this way, your mind is said to be secure. When it is secure, it will be free. If it's free, it will be peaceful. Such is the immediate benefit. As you activate your mindfulness continuously, focusing your attention on the object of meditation, you are bound to concentrate your mind, samadhi. So as you note and concentrate your mind momentarily on each rising object, you achieve a wonderful concentration in your practice. In this way, this group is said to be cultivated, namely virya, sati, samadhi, energy, mindfulness, and concentration. All these three wholesome mental states are involved in every mindfulness, so that these hindrances to progress or defilements will settle down like the sediments settling down. Will they be able to enter your stream of consciousness? It is not. And will they be able to allow this current of kilesa to enter? No. They will be blocked. Mindfulness, sati, has the power of blocking this current. And as for concentration, which occurs as a result of mindfulness, your current of defilement also will be blocked, because there will be no restlessness and worry, so that because your mind falls calm and collected on the object of attention, there will be no hindrances arising in you. So in this way, as your noting mind is getting powerful, you'll be free from these hindrances. That is the clarification of your mind, which is the quality of sada. You come to conclude that it is quite right. My mind, you will comment to yourself that my mind is not like before. It is unusual practice and experience rapturous feelings known as piti. Then you come to say that this method is quite right. And this is coming to a resoluteness of faith, sarati mokha. At that moment, you are not only trusting, but you are accepting and coming to a resolution. Such is the practical aspect of saddha, faith and confidence. Applying this vitakka, which is the aiming, the power of aim, of precision. Then as you make a practice of it, as you make a practice, your practice becomes perfect. It becomes more and more concurrent with the noted mind becomes concurrent with the noted object. You are bound to become very familiar with the true nature of the objects. As you are concurrent, the more you are concurrent, the more you will come to know them. As your concentration deepens, you are more bound to see the true nature of the objects correctly, so that your noting mind will become very familiar with the object to be noted. Such is the function of vitakka, aiming, the power of aim, seeing the true nature of the objects from the basics. In this way, by so doing, your dormant or latent tendencies of defilements will be eradicated on a part-time basis. One noting will remove one defilement, dormant type of defilement and so on. In this way, you'll be able to overcome this dormant type of defilement on a part-time basis, so that at that moment, your mind becomes very clear, and that you come to accept it, that is correct. Seeing the true nature of the objects, you come to acceptance. And in this way, your acceptance, power of acceptance will be uplifted by leaps and bounds. That is, your saddha will be uplifted in a very unusual manner. When one comes to this stage, one will come to understand with one's own personal reading or knowledge or power of reason that this faith and confidence has the function of being free from sediments, free from clarifying the mind, so that the mind becomes clear and it becomes clear and purified, so that it becomes very unusual. At that moment, the yogis will come to understand. It will be manifested in one yogi's mind that there's no fogginess. Akarusya Pasipatthana. Non-fogginess as the manifestation. That is the quality, one quality of faith and confidence. Saddha's quality. So in this way, with all these explanations, one comes to understand the quality of saddha in terms of sabhava lakkhana, natural characteristics, function, rasa, and manifestation, Pachipatthana. And the cause of these things lies in the saddhya vuttu, the object of faith, the object of faith. So those of you who cherish the Dhamma will come to understand by listening the Dhamma, find out the quality, and come to understand the quality of the Dhamma. As much as one understands it by learning or by practice, the saddha is bound to be uplifted. There will be trusting, there will be clarity, there will be trusting, clarity, and so on. And in this way, you'll be free from hindrances to progress. They will be farther and farther away from you. And such are the qualities of faith and confidence. There are many things to talk about. And once your saddha, faith and confidence, is aroused or awakened, we need to develop it with the practice. These will be discussed in the coming days.